Welcome to the Trustee Workshop. Topics we will cover today are trustees, duties of the trustees, audit timeline, prepare for the audit, perform the audit, and complete the audit. All audits are to be completed by the elected trustees, with a minimum of 2 trustees in attendance. At least one of the trustees must be an elected trustee. The president, secretary, and treasurer should also be in attendance during the audit, in case there are questions that may need answered. A pro tem can be appointed to audit the books under extenuating circumstances. The auxiliary officers must make every effort to conduct the audit at time and place that allows all appropriate officers to attend. Having an audit on a Monday morning when 2 of the trustees work doesn't allow for them to do their duty as trustees. Under sections 802 and 804 of the national bylaws, each auxiliary shall have 3 elected trustees. When elected as a 3-year trustee, the member shall serve a term of 3 years. 1 trustee will be elected at the time other officers are elected each year in April. Trustees do not automatically move up. If another trustee resigns, the auxiliary will elect a trustee to fill the vacant spot. Each auxiliary and district will have a first-year trustee, who's also known as the senior trustee and will serve as the chairman of the trustees, a second-year trustee, and a third-year trustee. Trustees need to know what an audit entails, and they can decide how to complete the task. The end result of a proper, complete audit is the goal, and the trustees can find the method that works best for them. Audits are to be completed no later than the end of the month following the expiration of each quarterly period. First quarter audits is for January, February, March, and needs to be completed by April 30th and then sent to Department Treasurer by May 31st. The second quarter audit is for April, May, and June, must be completed by July 31st and sent to Department Treasurer by August 31st. The third quarter audit is for July, August, and September and needs to be completed by October 31st and sent to the Department Treasurer by November 30th. And the fourth quarter audit is October, November, and December and needs to be completed by January 31st and sent to the Department Treasurer by February 28th. If the audit cannot be completed within the first month following the close of the quarter, a valid reason must be given before an extension will be granted by the Department President or Department Treasurer. Failure to get an extension could make your auxiliary no longer eligible for the Circle of Champions. Some other duties of the trustees detailed under Section 814 of the bylaws. They must properly audit the books and records of the auxiliary treasurer and secretary. They can assign tasks to each of the trustees. For example, the first trustee can review the secretary books to ensure disbursements, not otherwise reported per the standing rules, were approved in a meeting. Another trustee can review member dues and transmittals, and the third trustee can compare deposit slips and bank statements against the treasurer's report. The trustees will verify all expenditures of the auxiliary and certify by their signatures to the correctness of each bill before payment may be made. They shall audit the records and accounts of all committees, officers, and members having to do with the receipt and expenditure of auxiliary funds and perform such other duties incident to their office as the auxiliary may direct or the law may require, such as validate that the 990N e-postcard filing was complete, the treasurer filled out a 8822B filing form, and other tax forms as needed. The trustees must also sign and date all pages attached to the record books at the time of the audit. They must complete the audit and read the written audit report at an auxiliary meeting for acceptance, and then forward a signed, accepted copy of the audit to the Department Treasurer no later than the end of the month following the expiration of each quarterly period. If your meeting is before you do the audit, you will need to get an extension until the next meeting so that the audit can be read to and accepted by the membership. The department president and department treasurer are the only two individuals that can grant an extension for the audit. Some additional duties of the trustees under Section 814. See that offices of the president and treasurer are bonded with an indemnity company authorized by national headquarters or the department. The bond must be in the sum of at least double the amount of the funds and value of property for which, so far as can be anticipated, the president and the treasurer may be accountable for. The amount of the bond shall be approved by the body and bond premium paid from their funds. The office of the president shall hold the original bond of both offices, and a copy of the bond shall be incorporated into the minutes each year. Should a trustee resign, move away, or etc., the auxiliary will elect a member to fill the unexpired term of that particular trustee. Any negligence on the part of the trustees in carrying out the mandates of Section 814 of the bylaws or in attending audits shall make them individually and collectively responsible with any others for any discrepancy. Section 309 of the bylaws, any auxiliary in arrears for failure to bond or to make quarterly audits will be deprived of auxiliary representation on all levels. So, what items should the trustees have available? There needs to be the permanent record books of the treasurer and the secretary. This would include the treasurer's ledger and the secretary's minute books. The checkbook, which includes the check stubs or check register, any savings books or investments and the corresponding statement of that account, cash receipt book, receipts and bills since the last audit, membership records such as transmittals, memstats listing report, monthly membership update report, membership transmittal reports, and monthly membership paid reports. All treasurer's reports given at the time of the meeting. Minutes of each meeting, not just the minutes for the months being audited. This is in case you need to go back and validate maybe a outstanding check or some other payment that was just made. Bank statements along with canceled checks also need to be made available. A copy of the most recent audit showing the ending balances of the previous audit and the beginning balances of the current audit will be transferred over to the new blank audit form. Copy of standing rules if you have one, and also you need a blank audit form. A proper audit means a lot of flipping back and forth between different books. Trustees must review the receipt book and checkbook and compare both with the treasurer's report. Then the trustees must also confirm that all disbursements recorded on the treasurer's report were approved and either reflected in the minutes or is covered under the auxiliary standing rules. Dues and membership transmittal summary. We need to check the dues receipts to the dues transmitted. To do this, the trustees will need to check the receipts against the transmittals to ensure dues that were received were properly processed and the proper dues disbursements transmitted to the department treasurer. Now that we have seen that everything has matched or been accounted for, the audit form can be filled out. First, you need the last audit form to get the cash balance of the last report. Bring the cash balance. Next, you need to add up the receipts for the quarter of the appropriate fund. Add all the disbursements for each fund. Each column should be totaled down. Each line should be added across. The cash balance of the last report plus the receipts since the last audit and the disbursements from the last audit will equal your ending balance of this report. The total balances should total your bank balance. If you have savings or any other accounts or investments, you need to enter all receipts, disbursements from those accounts so we can add the interest and from the savings statements for the last 3 months. Add them across. Then add the totals down. Lastly, balance the bank statement at the bottom. It is okay for the treasurer to come in with an audit report already filled out. This can be used to check the trustees. If there is an error, it narrows it down to where to look for the error. If the trustees' report matches the one that was prepared by the treasurer, it is okay for the trustee to sign the treasurer's copy because it is probably printed with the formulas already added. When preparing the audit report of the next quarter, the ending balances from the last quarter audit must be entered into the new audit report under cash balance from the last audit report. We have added an approved date to the blank audit report posted on the department website under Resources, Treasurer, or President/Secretary links. Is that the end of the job? Oh no. The trustees now sign the audit. They sign the last page of the treasurer's book. They sign the last page of the secretary's book. The checkbook, where the last check of the period was written. They sign the deposit book, the most recent bank statement, the most recent savings statement, if needed, and the trustees need to initial all pages of the treasurer's and all pages of the secretary's book if they are not in a bound book. The senior trustee is responsible for reading the report to the next meeting. They give a copy to the secretary and send an approved copy to the department treasurer. Now the job is done.